and welcome to the Amava Heritage Publishing book launch. My name is Kwezilihle Femele, and I'll be your MC for tonight. Just to let you know, Ubotemba is our guy, the publisher, and I'll give you a brief biography on Ubotemba, and then he will later be having a conversation with Ubut Pumzile Mngci, the manager, Yasemhlabo Wenene. So a brief biography about Uthemba Ngade. He's the founding director of Amava Heritage Publishers, an accomplished communication and marketing all-rounder, having worked for 23 years in the communication industry, including in print media, reporting, writing, public relations, communication strategizing, business leadership within the vast communications field, and climbing the corporate ladder from being a communications and marketing operative to head communications and marketing in various organizations, spending 12 years of his career as a marketing manager, City of Cape Town, before becoming the founder of Amava Heritage Publishing. Themba's experience speaks for itself, and his expertise to the disposal of each of Amava's present and prospective clients can only be admired. His achievements and accolades include the following: Unitech Excellence in the Journalism. In 1997, he won an award. Finalist, Manager of the Year, Black Management Forum, 2007, and PRASA Western Cape Region Year Award in 2007. He is a professional member of the Public Relations Institute of Southern Africa, level Chartered Public Relations Practitioner, Chairman of PRISA Western Cape 2011, member of the Black Management Forum, member Institute of Directors Southern Africa. He is also a board member of the New Africa Bible Church 2008 to date, chairperson of the board, Dance for All Training Academy 2012 to date, chairman of the board, New Africa Development Corporation 2011 to date, former board chairperson for the Public Relations Institution of South Africa 2009 to 2013, current board chairperson for the Public Relations Industry Advisory Committee, statutory, Cape Peninsula University Technology 2012 to date. He started, published, operated a community newspaper, the Victoria East Reporter, in 1995 and 1996, covering Alice, Xhosa, Middledrift, and Fort Beaufort. May I ask that we welcome him with a round, warm hands of applause.
Njengoba ndisendichaziwe ke ngumzotho unyelenzi maphango ngqume webe uqobo yakaya kuTshuntshu uNtsibankulu uDukashe umgqwetho uXuxa yeke wana neLondon ngokuphela iHeritage Month ndizala intombi yakaMaseko intombi yomSwati kubone waNdlovu sizile ekhaya ziswela belusi Ncamane diphuma pha kulamhlaba seXhosa phansi konkosi uGama isizwe samaqunu khwebe. Amen. Uyise wesizwe ke unkosi uGama uqala William Gama amba ngobuso kuthiwa kumba ngobuso amaphakathi ambhaqa ethandaza acinga famba uyomba kodwa akaphethanga into yokomba uhamba ngobuso bakhe. Inkosi yokuqala uthatha inkolo yobuKristu kwinkosi zalapha ekhaya. Sizisa iphulo esiliqale 2 years ago. Sapublisha le incwadi Maqoma, a legend of a great Xhosa warrior. That's a new title of that book. That book was published in 1994. And it was never marketed by the publisher. It went out of print. while I was doing my own research on the internet, looking for an answer to a question that was asked on Facebook. Some people were discussing something on Facebook on a Xhosa idiom. Ethi izinto azimntakanqika babe bephosiselana. So I decided to go and solve it. But solving it, I wanted to quote something. So I was going to the internet, and the only place I could see a list of Nqika's sons was in this biography that was written by Professor Stapleton, who was Professor of History at Trent University in Canada at the time, having been a former Professor of History at Rhodes, having been a former Professor of History at the University of Fort Hare. So I glanced into it, and then I went back to Facebook to answer the question and to deal with the idiom. The idiom is izinto azimntakanqika atsho amaXhosa. And the discussion was drifting towards saying, xa kusithiwa izinto azimntakanqika, they mean that things have not changed, have gone for worse. That is wrong. It means things have changed to the positive. So where does it come from? It comes from one of Nqika's sons, Matwa. NgesiXhosa sifuna ukuthi izinto azifani. Into ezifanayo ke kuthiwa ngamatwa esiXhoseni. So ivela apho lento ithi izinto azimntakanqika. Uhlonipha ukuthi izinto azifani okanye izinto azingomatwa. Siyavana mos. That is what I was trying to solve. And then I went back to this doctoral thesis, and I looked at it, I printed it, I read it, and I found more of myself in the thesis than finding more of what the subject of the thesis was, which was Maqoma. I found more of familiar places, rivers that I've crossed, forests that I've headed cattle on, and names of people that I know, families that I know personally. And then I found Professor Stapleton and then asked for rights to publish the work again, and also rights to translate it to African languages, including Swahili. And then I obtained also the rights to do a feature film of Beyond Shaka epics because of the material that we have. So Stapleton agreed. That is where we are today. We published it without any publishing experience, without any publishing ambition. We published it out of the anger that this gold is sitting there, and there is this publisher that has let it go out of print. The copy that we used to produce this work, because we had to do a lot of editing, we had to include material that was never included. We had to correct names that were colonially spelt, not properly spelt. So we had to deal with the material. We had to fight with the author. That's what publishers do. They fight with their authors about concepts. Some we won, some we lost. For example, we lost the fact that Charlie, Sandile, Maqoma's brothers are called half-brothers because they did not share mothers. We don't have halves in African languages. Yeah, but it's written by Europeans, so they are halves. I didn't win that one, so they're still halves. But I won Amatola to Amatole and things like that. And then also the demise of the chief on the island, that he had found information after the publication of the book of the record of the parliament of the time, which celebrated Maqoma's death. which proves that he did not die of despondency in the island. He was actually killed on the 9th of September, 1873. Let me not tell all the story because I want you to buy the book. That is Maqoma. He lived between 1798 and 1873. His home, he was born in Middle Drift in a small village called Xhosa. His father is King Ngqiga of the Kgakgabe detachment of the Xhosa kingdom. His twin sister is Nongwane, who went on to marry Nkosi Gama of Amaqonukhwebe. She became the mother of the nation of Amaqonukhwebe. He has his brothers, as I've told you, and he has children. He had 10 wives. The first one was called Nonqina, and the 10th one was called Gaji. His children include Kona, Namba, Makhatlana, Dilima, Dini, and one of his daughters is Nomakaya. That is Maqoma. His credentials, what is his claim to fame? He was the Major General of the Xhosa Armed Forces for 30 years. He holds the record in history for waging the longest resistance against colonialism for 55 years. The British changed military commanders 22 times. He had to change tactics every time they changed personnel. He was the commander on the Xhosa side all those times. Further, the British changed governors 12 times in 30 years. He was the governor on the Xhosa side all these years. His father died, and his brother, Sandile, was not ready to take on as the heir of the Xhosa kingdom. So he was a regent for all that time. He invented the unique guerrilla warfare that was stolen by the Afrikaners against the English in the Anglo-Boer War. How this happened is that when the British were beaten by Maqoma, they recorded. And all these records were stolen from them by the Afrikaners, and they were used by the Afrikaners against the English in the Anglo-Boer War. He fought his last 2 wars with guns, not with spears. Where did Maqoma get the guns? He stole them. I don't have a pointer. This slide is a little bit tricky, but I'll show you. It's meant to show you where Maqoma's place is. This is where he is, right? This line depicts all his brothers. There's one that is missing here. This is his father, Ngqiga. Ngqiga is the son of Mlawu. And Mlawu is the son of Kgakgabe. Kgakgabe is the son of Phalo. Phalo is the son of Chiwo. Chiwo comes from the lineage of Chawe. That's Maqoma's place in the royal dynasty. We're still together. Okay. Maqoma, the right-hand son of Ngqiga. That's how he's described by historians. What is a right-hand son as compared to a great son? A great son is a son that is going to take over as a king. He did not qualify, much as he was the firstborn of his father. He did not qualify to be the king. Up to date, the line goes with Sandile. It doesn't go with Maqoma, much as Maqoma was 22 years older than Sandile. Because Sandile's mother was of royal blood from Abatimbu. Maqoma's mother was not of royal blood. She came from Ngosini, from the Ngosini clan, which in the Xhosa dynasty is not a royal family. But in the Khoi family, in the Khoi system, it is royal. This place, the place is called No Man's Land. It was called the colony or the eastern frontier of the Cape of Good Hope. It was called the British Kaffraria. It was called the Queen Adelaide province. It was called the border region. It was called the Ciskei. It was called the western part of the Eastern Cape province, which is very close to the eastern province of the Cape, as headquarters, as it is headquartered in Cape Town. Now the riddle is that we are now in PE. PE is called Eastern Province, but it's not the Eastern Province of the Eastern Cape. It's the Eastern Province of the Western Cape. So this is the west of the Eastern Cape. So the land that we're talking about is the land that is confined currently between the Great Fish River, which is Ingoba, and the Great Kai River, which is Ingiba. That place is called the Ciskei, or all those names. That map is very faint, but if you look at the bottom of the map, you see the Bragg River. Can you see the Bragg River? Let me show you. I don't have a pointer. This is the Bragg River. We are now in Moselbaai, right? This is Tungwa's Kraal. This is now beyond Moselbaai. Tungwa is a Kunukwebe royal. He's the father of Gama and Pato and Kona and Kobe. He lived here beyond Moselbaai. This is where Kunukwebe came from. They were driven through all these rivers. This is Gamtus. We are now in Jeffreys Bay. This is Swarkops. You know where Swarkops is. This is Kucha. You know where Kucha is. This is Sunday's River. This is in Colchester. And they were driven through Bushman's River, through Ngoba. This is the Kaiskama River. And this is Ngiba. This is the land that was contested because they were driven up to here. When they got here, then there was no other way but to fight. Right? That's another map showing the rivers because the rivers, the boundaries were shifted through rivers. That this river will be eaten tonight, and then the next night the other river has been eaten. It becomes a border. So that's how this conquest happened. This is a very interesting map. It's a map of this Cape of Good Hope, the eastern frontier at the time. And it shows its regions. The British Kaffraria is what later was called Queen Adelaide province. That is the land of the Khakhabe. And then the other regions on your left, is it your left or my right? The Cradock region, the Victoria East region, the Somerset region, the Fort Beaufort region. The Albany region is still called the Albany region, by the way. Its headquarters is Grahamstown and Uitenhage. Algoa Bay went on to be called Port Elizabeth, and it went on to be called Nelson Mandela Bay. Trouble names: Chief, Paramount Chief. That's another thing that we cleaned out of the book. We've cleaned any reference to chief or paramount chief. There is no royal thing called chief. Contralesa has banned chief altogether in all its members. You are either Inkosi if you are Xhosa or Zulu, or Hoshi, or Morena, or Bizarro brightness. You are called by what you are called by your people, not a chief. The reason people were called chief, were relegated into chief, is because they could not compete with British royalty. So there is a king, King William or King George in England. So there cannot be a King Ngiga in an extension of Britain, which was British Kaffraria. So there's only one king. So we have to invent a derogatory reference of a paramount chief, a chief that has got chiefs under him. That becomes a paramount chief. In our case, is King Ngiga, right? So we've changed that in the book. A chief is equivalent to what in England, the people that are called lords. But ours could not be called lords because they were too common to be called lords. There are two houses of parliament in Britain, the House of Commons and the House of Lords, right? A common is just a common, and then a lord is a royal person, right? So chief is an insult, right? Let us not use chief. Because it has no royalty in it. There's a chief engineer, there's a chief inspector, there's a chief ablution facilities manager, there's a chief executive officer, it's not royal, it's chief everything. See? And it's, I mean, yeah. And then, Amambombo. Cattle are very important in Xhosa. Amambombo are people who are called after a cattle. Amambombo are the people who resorted under the king. They don't have a chief. The people in Kubiso, in Kaukeni, in Twahu, in Ngwazi, those people did not have a chief. They were Ngiga's people. Umbombo was Ngiga's cow. So you are called after a cow. So you must be proud of yourself. Cattle are very important. Ama Jingri, sisizwe sikama Maqoma. Jingri was Maqoma's cow. The Gad River is actually Ngwenga. Ngwenga is very important because it became the headquarters of Maqoma. The Waterkloof Mountains, Mtonsi, that's where the War of Mlanjeni happened. The Katbech Mountains, Umnwazi. Nikomalan Spas is supposed to be called Intabaskan Ntongwana. The town of Katkat. Katkat, Sir George Katkat is responsible for the second Xhosa genocide. The town of Whitley C is a birth town in England of Sir Harry Smith, who killed King Hinza. King Williamstown, you know King Williamstown. Amalinde, the Battle of Amalinde in 1818 is Maqoma's first war that he fought in. It was a civil war between Amakhachabe and Amakhachabe. Amalinde is a reference to the grooves. What do you call those things? If you go in the foot of Ndabagando towards Dimbaza, the topography is like this. Those things are called in isiXhosa Amalinde. That's the reference to it. That's the original reference to it. Buma Pass. There's a place called Buma Pass in Kubiso. Unopoma was phakathi la komkhulu. He ambushed a British detachment and defeated it. It is recorded in history as a wagon accident. Qilika Qoshe or Qeleke Qushe is the hill above the Investor Forte, where Dr. James Stewart's monument is. That's Kiliga. People refer to it as Somgada, which is James Stewart's name. It's not. Somgada is the name of Lovedale College, which was started by Dr. James Stewart. Right. Names in colonial records. This is what we found and dusted off in the book. Knox Lerner is Nonglina, Maqoma's first wife. Chief Ino is Nkosi Ngeno of Amambalu. Gnuka, that is Nguka in Middle Drift. Amakaye, that is Maqoma's daughter, Noma Kaya. Kache, that is Maqoma's last wife, Kaji. Makomo, that is Maqoma. Gaika, that is Ngriga. Chief Congo, that is Ngosi Tungwa Wamakunukwebe. San Dili, that is King Sandile. Chief Charlie of Chumi, Ngosu Charlie was a Chume. We also ran a name manufacturing factory of our own. Dr. James Stewart, we couldn't pronounce that, we called him Somgada. That's the way he walked. Nabs Hope, we called it Nabs Hope. Reverend William Shaw, we called him Kanti. Forte Agricultural Research Farm, there was a guy there who managed that agricultural farm who was tall. We called him Sopali because he was tall. In East London, there's a place in Vincent called Divero Avenue. If you are not from East London, you will ask for direction and you will say, where is Divero Avenue? And people would not know what you are looking for until you say Divarex. Sir Harry Smith, I gave him this name, Usakwiti, because that's his character. Now, on dam Mabuyaze, people were building that dam and the wages were very poor. So they called it Mabuyaze. You go to work, you come with nothing. East London Cheap Labor Reserve, Umdanzane. Umdanzane is not a proper name. Sistuko. Abantu babesuka endende nase Gompo nakamekeni besuswa forced removals into this place called Umdanzane. When you say to somebody you Umdanzane, you mean his big butt. So they were insulting this place because they did not want to go there. Right. Now it's stuck. It's there in history. It's in the maps. It's everywhere. You see, the wars. These are the wars that Maqoma participated in. Amalinda, as I told you, was a civil war. It was a devastating civil war because it opened the first rift between Amakhabe themselves, which opened up for the invitation of Lord Charles Somerset into Xhosa politics. That was the beginning of trouble. How much time do I have? Can I tell you one story about Amalinde? Amalinde happens because Mlau, Ngega's father, died when Ngega was still young. So Ndlambe, Mlau's brother, had to be regent. When Ngega came of age, Ndlambe did not want to give him his thing. And then there was a war. To exacerbate the war, Ndlambe took a young wife out of the string of wives that he had, called Tutula, who was very beautiful. And Ngega thought this wife was too beautiful and too young for Ndlambe, went to steal her. And there was a fight. This fight, the prophet Nzigane walks into the great place. The great place at the time was on the Chume River. Walks into the great place, Pete Ingai in Amans, Wayega Yawa, Yakiteka, yaphalala, yathi sam. And he said to Ncika, I told you, don't fight with your brothers. Stop this war. Because if you do this, this will be your downfall. And Ncika did not want to listen. The prophet turned to Maqoma and said, Maqoma, I'm giving up on this mission of stopping you. When you get to the battle, when the enemy is drawing you close, it's a trap. Don't follow them. You will die. And then they left. As they were leaving, he shouted at them and said, I saw in my vision your heads being devoured by ants in that war. And Maqoma nearly died. And most of Ncika's trusted counselors, including Ntlebi, the biggest of them all, died in that war. And that war was devastating to the Xhosa. Imfazwe kaXhoxho, 1834. Xhoxho is Maqoma's brother, younger brother. There was a skirmish that was started by Somerset, who sent John Hare to attack Charlie. Then Charlie was attacked. As he was attacked, Xhoxho and other people were protecting Charlie, and then Xhoxho was grazed by a bullet on the side of his face. And Maqoma said, this is royal blood. Royal blood cannot be spilled and nothing happens. And that became a war. He attacked the British. And then he surprised them. And then King Hintsa's war, 1835. King Hintsa was captured by Sir Harry Smith. And he was given an instruction that you must tell the Khakhabe chiefs to stop attacking us. Number two, we want 50,000 cattle and 1,000 horses. Give an instruction to your nation to collect all these animals and give them to us. And he told them to go to hell. They shot him in cold blood. And they took his head. They gouged his eyes out, his ears, his teeth as mementos. And they went to present the head to the Queen in England. 12 May 1835. Hintsa dies at the hands of Sir Harry Smith. Imfazwe yeZembe, the war of the Axe, Maqoma did not fight, did not want to fight. He said, I'm not interested. What happened is that a guy called Tsili, who came from the Tola of the Ndlambe nation, went to Fort Beaufort to steal an axe in a shop. And he was arrested by the colonial police. And they were driving him to, driving means they are on horseback and he is walking, right, in front of them. So they were driving him to Grahamstown. That's the only court that was there. So from Fort Beaufort to Grahamstown, things may happen. So a Xhosa detachment went to steal Tsili from the police. And then they went back with him beyond the protectorate. So the colony had to write a letter to request now the repatriation of the criminal. And King Sandile at the time said no, he's not interested. That's how that war started. It's called Imfazwe yeZembe. I want to talk to you about Maqoma's last war, which is now the War of Mlanjeni, 1850 to 1853. That's the last war he fought. It's the longest. But let me talk to you about Maqoma in PE first. I thought I was going to read extracts from the book. I don't think I have time. You will find the book. The first time Maqoma comes to PE was at the end of the War of the Axe. Much as he did not participate, the British were very scared of him. So he was exiled to PE. He came here and stayed in the location of the Fingus. And he stayed among the Fingus. He came back out of exile in 1850. While he was here, he had a rumor that there was going to be a ship arriving from England with a new governor of the Cape. So he came to observe. Where the Sanlam building is, there was a hotel called the Phoenix. So this guy came from the harbor, and there was a commotion of settlers clapping hands and so on. He came, he observed. As he observed, this guy came out of the hotel, of the upper floors of the hotel, and went straight to him. And then threw his sword towards him. And he did not use it. He moved back, much to the delight of the congregation of settlers. And then he went back to his hotel saying nothing. But Maqoma recognized the guy. It's Harry Smith, who's coming back for the second time. He was first a commander of the armed forces. Now he's been promoted to be governor of the Cape. So Harry Smith calls for Maqoma to come not the next day, the same day on the afternoon, come with an interpreter. He comes, and then Maqoma, in his royal demeanor, extends his hand to greet the governor. He took his hand, drags him down, he puts his boot on his neck, and he says, "This is what is going to happen. I am in charge." And Maqoma, collecting his breath, looks up to him and says, "Winja bonanje. Futhi uacta njengenja. You are a dog, and you act like one. Even your queen would never do this to me because he knows I'm royalty. She knows royalty." And he vowed then that Sir Harry Smith will pay for this. He did pay. In 1857, he was sentenced to death, and this sentence was commuted to 21 years on Robben Island. So he had to come again via Grahamstown to PE to take a ship, that Royal Mailer that took him to Robben Island. That was his first incarceration. His second incarceration was in 1871. Again, he had to come via Grahamstown to PE. That one took long. It took 10 days because he was very cheeky. He would walk 2 miles a day and say he's tired. And then he was just punishing them. The War of Umlanjeni. I wrote a lot about it there because I'm proud of it. It's got 8 battles. Out of the 8 battles, the score is 7-1 against the British. It's epic, it's thrilling, it's exciting, it's wonderful. Maqoma did not have the numbers, but he had the topography. He mastered the topography, right? So, but it ended with the greatest Xhosa genocide when Sir Harry Smith was recalled to Britain for failure and for waging an expensive war. And he had started an expansion program that the British government did not want. The British government, he was told, because there was a change of politics in Britain at the time, the Labour Party said, no, we are not about that. We are about getting refreshments, that's all. Why are you expanding the territory? Who asked you to? So he was recalled after being beaten 6 times. He was recalled. Kat came. He was vicious. Maqoma was arrested. The charge sheet for the first incarceration was being found in possession of stolen animals. He was found after Nongause when everybody was supposed to kill cattle. He did not kill his. That was his problem. The second incarceration was that he was found trespassing. He went back to his land, which was taken. Now he is trespassing. So the charge sheet says trespassing. And then we found his death certificate. His death certificate is written despondency. He died in Tuktis Island. He was buried in a hole, unmarked. His bones were repatriated to Ndabagandoda on the 3rd of August 1978. That's where they are now, on top of Ndabagandoda. When we dug the bones, we found a bullet hole here, which purportedly was caused by the despondency. This is a higher grade of despondency. It's not a lower grade. Those are the places you can find the book. You can find the book and all the other books online at amavaheritage.co.za. In PE, we have Harry, that's his number, 082-930-1723. When you want a book, he can help you with a book. He's got a book. This is the book we're presenting tonight, but this is the work that we've done so far. Maqoma's Last War is a book that was not written by a historian. It was written by a Perlemon diver of Hermanas in the West Coast. Nicholas Decker died 2 months ago at age 81. Nicholas Decker found, while he was diving for his Perlemon, found this ship wreckage at Danger Point. And then he acquired rights to explore it. When he explored it, he found that it was actually sabotaged. It did not go to the coast by itself. And then when he started probing, and he asked 2 questions. Who stood to benefit when the ship went down? And where was it headed to? It was headed to the Amatole Mountains to fight a war with Maqoma. And Maqoma had stood to benefit. So 650 soldiers went down with that ship from Britain. And then the book proves that it was sabotaged, and the plan came from Maqoma. And the third book, which is written in Xhosa, Ubungqina bobu Krestu bama Africa, is written by my father and is published 6 years after he died. It could not find a publisher because it's too explosive. It questions why, if you want to be a Christian, you can't be an African Christian. You can be an English Christian, you can be an Indian Christian, you can be a Chinese Christian, but African and Christian don't mix. African is dark, Christian is light. So before we convert you to Christianity, we must convert you first to being English and give you an English name. Once we dust you up properly, we can now present you to Christ. It discusses that. It says we want to be Christians. In fact, we would have been Christians even if we were not colonized. But why can't we be African Christians? I thank you.